Today we're going to look at the Leona2 Luxe, a compact and lightweight reversible seat stroller from Maxi-Cosi. So let's jump right into it then, going over the model from top to bottom and examining its advantages and disadvantages in terms of child comfort, ease of use, performance and mechanics, before ending with a discussion of which uses and lifestyles it may suit and whether we feel it's worth its price. And starting off with some stats, the Leona2 Luxe clocks in at just under 9 kilos and folds down to 47 by 59 by 31 centimeters, with the seat attached in the parent-facing position. It can take 22 kilos in the seat and 5 kilos in the underslung shopping basket. When it comes to child comfort, the Leona2 Luxe's seat has a nicely upright position and a newborn acceptable near-flat recline. Size-wise, the seat is unfortunately rather misproportioned, having on one hand a backrest that can be raised telescopically to a full 56 centimeters, but at the same time having both a very minimalistic leg rest and a baseboard that, at only 20 centimeters, is far too shallow, especially with the central buckle being positioned only about halfway across its depth. And as a result, despite offering decent comfort for the first 8 months or so, and also likely never to lack headspace, the model will top out in terms of its ability to provide comfortable seating for most children by around 2 years old or so, and this is being generous. When it comes to other aspects of the seat, the Leona2 Luxe has thick, soft textiles, an easy-to-use magnetic harness, and a canopy that provides acceptable sun coverage when using both the extended portion zipped into the back and the sun flap. When it comes to parent comfort, the model has a fixed handle height of 102 centimeters and a decently large shopping basket that's a bit narrow to access from the rear due to the wall of the basket itself, but is nicely accessible from the front when the seat is reversed. As far as folding goes, the model folds down quite easily via a 2-step process that can be accomplished with one hand, resulting in a folded package that's decently compact for packing in and out of the trunk. For carrying, there's both a handle as well as a shoulder strap that, though a bit short, is still stretchy enough to get over your shoulder if you're looking to carry the stroller for longer distances. As far as the general feel of using the model goes, right out of the box, the Leona2 Luxe has a pleasantly tight feel in both its connection points as well as its activation mechanisms, indicating a more precise fitting of smaller components than one finds with many of the model's competitors. And I would note here that this includes the mechanisms on the seat frame, where both adjusting the leg rest and pulling the seat back to its longer height take a bit more force than one might initially expect. As far as driving goes, the model has decent-sized wheels, 7 inches in the front and 8.2 in the back, as well as acceptable shock absorption, though the narrow rear frame does make it feel a bit tippy when steering, and a variety of weaker areas of the chassis and wheels that we'll go over when discussing the model's mechanics make it neither the sort of model that you'll want to use all day every day, if you want it to last in any case, nor the sort of stroller that one ought to use for any real off-roading, despite being acceptably comfortable to use at least on lighter rough ground like gravel, smoother dirt paths, cobblestones, and so on. Okay, moving on to the mechanics of the Leona2 Luxe then. The model's folding system is relatively simple, with the only internal mechanisms, other than those on the seat frame, being a pair of wires that run down from the activation buttons in the center of the handle to unlock a pair of hinged points on the handle arms, that then allow several other non-locking hinged points along the rest of the chassis, including the large rotating hub at the center, to close the chassis together. This on its own is not an uncommon or problematic design, though the execution on the Leona2 Luxe does unfortunately suggest potential wear issues in my opinion, simply because that singular pair of locking points is not built heftily enough, and the thin struts that extend below the handle arms don't actually give much, if any, support to these locking points, due to the placement of their hinges, but are rather simply the beginning of a longer chain of equally thin bars, all rather weakly riveted to each other, that symmetrically control the overall folding and unfolding process. In my experience, this sort of riveting has a tendency to loosen over time, and on top of this, the pressure of tipping and steering the model, as well as jolts from the terrain, is all apt to put quite a lot of pressure on those locking points, sufficiently much in my opinion that, as I already noted, I don't feel that this is exactly a model that will hold up well to all-day, everyday use, and extra pressures like too much weight or jolts from the environment are likely to take a real toll on the model's longevity. Moving down to the rear frame, the suspension is again decent, especially for handling rougher urban conditions. The brake system is rotation-based, which is good, better than wire-based systems, and the only potentially iffy area are the pins, which are a little on the thin side. The wheels are a potential problem area though, in my opinion, since the axles sit a little loose in the bearings, and their relatively large size means increased pressure on this point from steering. Looking lastly at the front end, there's again decent suspension built into the front forks, as well as sufficiently thick pegs in the swivel locks. But, as in the back, I again worry that the size of the front wheels may wind up being a problem on this model. Not that they're not nice for getting over obstacles, but the connection within the front housings is pretty loose, and the larger, somewhat narrow wheels are likely to accelerate wobbling problems from wear in my experience. And in addition, I've never been a fan of using rivets for axles, since they simply make things much harder if you need to replace ball bearings, or even clean out hair and stuff that might wind its way around the axles and impede rotation. So, would I recommend getting the Leona2 Luxe? I'm going to give the model a maybe, but only because of the price, which is quite low versus a lot of competing strollers, and where the main positives of the model then are its relatively lightweight for a reversible seat model, its easy fold, a tight feel right out of the box, and its decent terrain capability. The weak points of its locking mechanisms and wheels do mean that the model should, in my opinion, only be considered for in and out of the car use or more limited day trips. And there's also that chief negative of a too shallow baseboard that's likely to severely affect comfort past 2 years old for most children. But the fact that the Leona2 Luxe has a newborn acceptable recline does give the model a bit of added use value for the newborn phase. Just note, if you're considering it though, that there's virtually zero chance that will fulfill your stroller needs for the entirety of your child's stroller years. In any case, we hope you found this video interesting, and if you did, we ask that you subscribe, as it helps us to continue making videos in the future. In addition, if you're currently shopping for a stroller, we have a buyer's guide on our Patreon page which lists a wide range of models that we recommend, with a lot of technical and lifestyle related information. You can find it by following the link in the description. Thank you.